Record.
Hey, let's get this show started for today. This is Corey Miceli on the Corey Miceli Show with the sexy Viking, Matthias Bankstrom Anderson. How you doing today, Matthias?
I'm doing very well. Had a great workout today. Got up at the right time. All that good stuff. Did some work. Got my some stuff in my apartment fixed out. What about you?
I've had an energy drink.
Great.
So, yeah, I haven't worked out yet today. Just talking to a business associate of mine last night. It's actually a phenomenal conversation with the guy, just kind of sorting out some next steps for him, talking about the direction of the show, that sort of thing. So we had like a 6 hour, maybe even more than that. Kind of went business, family, achieving the right things in life, and head still spinning a little bit for that conversation, but it was a really good conversation.
All right. So, well, let's get started with the show. I mean, I have heard you a few times say that you do not believe in shrugs, and I'm wondering, like, why do you always say no to shrugs? What is it? Are they no good at building the shrug size? Isn't it important to like raise your shoulders as well as so many other different types of movements for joint health? Like, what is it?
I agree. Now, with that said, this movie, your shoulders lifting them up and down is probably an important function to have. But here's where that conversation usually stems from. Guys, most people, many fitness enthusiasts out there always say, how do I get bigger traps? I want my traps through. I'm going to do shrugs. And if you spend time in a commercial gym, I mean, pretty much any selectorized machine at one point or another has become a shrug machine. So you see guys doing shrugs till they're freaking blue in the face. And, there might be a genetic oddity here or there that is just born with awesome shrugs or something like that. They do a couple shrugs, their traps blow up. But the reality is the trapezius muscle is not really going to respond best to that shrugging motion because the traps are more like, thick supportive tissue, and they're really only offering support. That shoulder girdle is like sunk down low in the body. Does that make sense? So a longer trap is a bigger trap. And what muscles like stimulate that trap growth the best? Freaking deadlifts. And if you're doing any kind of shrugging motion in a deadlift, then it's counterproductive to the feat of strength in and of itself, because the more downward pressure one has with that shoulder into the core of the body, the more energy will be transferred into the lift. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, the more weight you're holding in your hands, the harder stretch you're giving your trap muscle, so it's bound to grow even if you don't do shrugs.
Right. So they're meant to lengthen and hold a tremendous amount of weight. So if an athlete is doing a deadlift where their shoulder elevates up or they have a shrugging up motion, it does a number of things. It disturbs the flow of energy from the hands to the shoulders back down into the floor, because it's like a disconnect. It's like removing one layer of bricks if the shoulder rises during a heavy output like that. Well, when people say, well, look at Olympic lifters, they're shrugging weights up. No, they're not. If you look at you look at a top league Olympic lifter, the clean aspect, the only time the shrugging motion or shoulder girdle elevation occurs is after virtually all the force has been put into the bar. It's only after all the momentum and the bar has reached its maximum height, and as the lifter starts to descend into that front squat catching position. So even with Olympic lifting, the shrug is not what's the main move. It does not move the weight. It is not responsible for generating that energy into the barbell, where just the opposite is true. But you look at, even in a starting position, those shoulders of an Olympic weightlifter are set down very low. So it immediately, as they start to transfer energy into the barbell, the shoulders are at their lowest position, not the highest position. And if you look at some of the great Olympic weightlifters, you watch, there's no clean aspect to generating force into the bar. There might be a bit of a shoulder elevation as the athlete uses the bar to pull into position below. So let's take away let's flip topics. Let's look at a sprinter. Most sports require effective sprinting. Whether it's long soccer, you might sprint like 60 yards or meters or something at once, or volleyball, you may only have to sprint 5 yards at once. Either way, the correct sprinting or jumping or explosive position with the body is the shoulders set low into the trunk. Look at a great Olympic sprinter, just watch their shoulder. There's a lot of violent shoulder movement during that sprint but the shoulders are set low into the body at all times. So anything that, basically a shrug, too much emphasis on shrugs will absolutely create a postural weakness, is I guess my point I'm trying to make. And those powerlifting fans out there, you look at Eric Lillybridge, some of the biggest, gnarliest traps I've ever seen. And they do this exercise called the Lillybridge shrug, but it's not really a shrug at all. It's a movement that's kind of like a hybrid between a side raise and a bent over dumbbell row. So their lower trap, middle trap is getting some work in this capacity, but it's no upward lifting of the shoulder girdle. It's like a retraction of the shoulder girdle. So you look at, I think Eric Lillybridge is some of the biggest traps I've ever seen of any athlete out there. And I don't see the guy out there doing like, shrugs as part of his repertoire, heavy deadlifts, rear delts, traps. He deadlifts over 900 pounds, just to put it in perspective. He spent years and years and years building a strong high bar squat, eventually switched to low bar squats. It's either here or there. My point being, he's got some of the biggest, most impressive traps I've ever seen. And son of a gun is not out there doing shrugs on 5 different pieces of equipment at Planet Fitness, is my point.
Well, I mean, so if the priority for the traps, the upper trap should be to have a heavy weight in your hands, putting down, really stretching it, then what about putting on some straps so you can better hold on to the weight and putting on a little bit more, even maybe 10, 20, 25% more than you can deadlift for 1 rep, and then just shrugging it for some quarter to half reps?
No, don't shrug it. Just hold it. Let the traps stretch. Maintain your posture. You'll feel your traps more just holding that weight, letting them get a maximum stretch with very, very high weight. I promise.
Okay.
Hear me now, believe me later.
I do see some relevance in what you're saying, because I have definitely seen people do deadlifts and farmers walk and stuff like that and have massive traps, and only a little bit of shrug training with heavy weights that would also stretch the traps. And I mean, I must say, a lot of people talk about the benefits of holding the straps up, the shoulders up, and squeezing the traps with lighter weight. But I mean, the biggest burn I've ever gotten has been when I've done the same reps or lower reps with heavier weights, where I could only get some of the reps, with the shoulders up all the way up on some of the reps, and they will come lower and lower, and even end up micro shrugging, because the weight was putting so heavy down on my straps.
Well, in that case, it's telling me that it's time for the traps to stretch and hold. But be that as it may, if I want to get big traps, I'm going to do high bar squats. I'm going to do heavy deadlifts, sumo conventional, the like. Like you said, maybe go overload weight and just let those traps stretch, and someone else can do whatever they want. We'll see who gets bigger traps.
Why high bar squats for traps of all things?
Well, the trapezius muscle actually in that case is the weight is supporting the weight itself, supporting the barbell. And if you're doing it properly, you're squeezing down with the shoulder, but the shoulders, your whole back architecture anyway. So the trapezius becomes the muscle that actually holds the weight. And then you're also going through that real extreme shoulder girdle depression motion at the same time.
You think that gives a lot, or is it more like a little supplemental stimulation?
No, not a little, a lot, tremendous amount.
Okay. Then maybe I'm doing it wrong, because I haven't really noticed it yet. So,
well, give it a shot, see what happens.
I'll definitely pay more attention to it next time.
Yeah, pay a lot of attention to it, man. I think you'll see it. It will have a direct carryover rate for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to ask you about is the real and surreal, because that's kind of like a little catchphrase for your show. And I think a lot of people who are listening are gonna be wondering, what does the surreal actually entail? What exactly do you mean by that? What is surreal to you?
Well, let me just shoot from the hip on a couple of stories that were pretty surreal to me. About a year, last April, I was spending some time with my yin and yang soul twin brother, Paul Wise. And, I'll give you a couple of stories just random. And leading up to this little hike we were going to take, I kept seeing like the notion of a lion kept like reappearing, like a picture of a lion, a story of a lion, something, a random video would pop up. There would be a lion. And, it was a time in my life that I was really, ready to make a complete change. And, this show coming to fruition is a big part of that process also. So anyway, a lion kept being a recurring theme over and over and over, like to the ridiculous point. I mean, it just kept happening. So anyway, we went to a remote area in Washington State just to take a hike and get out and just meditate, breathe, and just take in nature. And we found this old, like, I don't know if it was an old logging trail or something, but it was, obviously a trail, but it had not, there's been no vehicle gone down it in recent years, it appeared. It was just kind of a random trail in the forest. So I'm like, hey, Paul, let's go take a hike down this trail. He's like, yeah, it looks pretty cool back here. So, maybe 20 yards into the hike, I looked down in like a little muddy area and say, oh my gosh, check this out. And there's a print of a mountain lion, like very fresh print, you could tell, of a mountain lion in this little like muddy spot of the trail. Paul looks at me, he's like, hardcore, maybe we shouldn't hike back here. And for some reason, I just tell him like, no, it's okay. We'll be all right. I don't know why I said that, because even you're not gonna, it's a mountain lion. Let's put it that way. If you know anything about a mountain lion, it's like he's just not going to come out on top, most likely, against based on the size of the print, a full-grown mountain lion. So anyway, somehow he believed me when I said it. I said, no, it's going to be okay. Let's keep walking back here. So we maybe go another, I don't know, it doesn't matter, half a mile or something like that. And then we get to a point where to keep going, it's like a very, very steep incline. And Paul looks at me, he's like, hey, I think I'm gonna do my meditation right here. I was like, okay, that sounds good. It's a pretty cool area. It's like, again, this is like a rainforest, like huge trees, moss everywhere. It smells amazing. It's like really very freaking one of the coolest areas I've ever seen in my life. So I keep walking, maybe go another, it doesn't matter. Let's just maybe another mile at the most, not even that. It was uphill, so it felt probably farther than it really was. And I got to this area and just stopped and just like took it in and just focused on like some areas of my life I really wanted to improve, meditated on some things that I really wanted to see change and manifest, that sort of thing. And during that time, it's like, best way I can explain it, I feel this like pulsing, like harmonic vibration, like woo, 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 woo. And like literally lost track of time. It's hard to explain. It's like a vibration, like a harmonic vibration. You can like feel, I dare I say almost see and like sense throughout your whole body. And I'm not exactly sure how much time went by. I just literally lost track of time. And all of a sudden, like boom, like popped out of this like meditative state. And everything's like, it was like a loud silence at that point. So just kind of take things in. Really, what the hell just happened? So I go marching, walking back down to find Paul, and I see Paul, and he's just like looking out, and I'm like, Paul, and he like pops out of it, and he looked at me, and the first thing he said was, "Where did I go?" Which I thought was pretty interesting. And I'm like, I don't know, brother, did you hear that? He's like, whoa, yeah, where did I go? And like, Paul was like, at one point, this man was literally the most powerful man in the world, like 6'1", 270 something pounds, 41-inch vertical jump. Like they're talking like a walking, talking like Superman. And anyway, like he just like kept turning his head, like he had literally like jumped into a different dimension and come back. Don't know how to explain it past that. So the popular, I told that story to a couple of people, of course, like, whoa, what drugs are you guys taking? None. It was early in the morning. I had a cup of coffee. Paul doesn't even drink coffee. It was just like the first thing of the day. We were out to like, take in nature. And like I said, we had intentionally planned to get out in the deep forest and meditate and pray and just kind of like focus on some new things in our life. So anyway, like we both looked there just like astonished. Like it's almost like your hair's standing up and something very powerful has happened, but it's hard to really describe what. So as we're walking out of the trail, we get to that spot where the mountain lion print was. And I kid you not, I've got a picture of it on my phone. I can send it to you after the show. That same exact mountain lion print, boom, in the track of the original one facing outward this time. So the mountain lion led us in to that hike and then led us out to that hike. And the very interesting part of that, which makes it even more surreal, is you see where the lion had like clawed a branch down at like a small tree. Let's say a tree maybe inches around at the base. And you see the claw marks on the tree, and the lion would like position the freaking tree to like be very noticeable. You even see a claw mark on the tree. So I have no explanation for really what was going on that day, other than it was completely surreal. And it absolutely, from that point forward, my life has taken a way different direction and met so many new people, and things have like, oh, when I'm making the bad decisions, it's become very apparent very fast, and I'm making the right decisions and connecting with the right people. The right things are happening and manifesting at a very, very fast pace also. So that's one story that seemed very surreal to me, even though I experienced it myself. It's like, it's surreal, like so real. It's like almost like it's like you described earlier, like a scene from a movie. What are your thoughts on that, Matthias?
Well, what the fuck do I mean, yeah, that is definitely surreal. And it's very weird what you're saying, that there are tracks from a mountain lion going in both directions, and the track is put his foot down in his own tracks on the way back.
You're going to see in about 5 seconds. I'm sending you the picture right now. I was actually able to find it on my phone. That's another surreal experience. I actually found the picture I was looking for just now. Tell me when it comes through.
Yeah, I have it now, and it's kind of like it's pointing like not in opposite directions, but it's definitely in the same track. So I mean, that's
well, I mean, if you saw how the trail was, it really is up, like, because it was like, right, trust me, it's like the opposing point. Like, and mountain lions are very smart animals, man. That's not going to be by accident. Like, trust me. So anyway, I just wanted to show you the picture of it to see, though I'm not blowing smoke. Pretty freaking crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is like two paws smooshed together in one track, you know. I can't really tell like exactly which toe is which, you know, but I can tell it's more than one paw, definitely more than one paw.
Absolutely, man. And this is a big cat too. This print, I should have put my hand by the print so you get perspective of the size. I'm surprised I remembered to take a damn picture of it, because I'm just glad I did.
There are stones and rocks in the picture too, so I can kind of gauge it in a little bit, you know, because I live out near the farms and stuff like that, you know. And,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a regular dog paw, that's for sure.
Trust me, absolutely not, man. I mean, this is like a remote. Yeah, it was so far away from like regular, like it was in the deep woods. Like most people from like the cities would have been so freaked out as being there, because it's like anyway, there's a part 2 to that story, which I'll share at some other point, which is even more surreal, believe it or not. But I'll probably wait till we have Paul on as a guest to talk about the like the second part of that story, which is pretty crazy. And anyway, we'll get back to that in some future episode. Where are we at time wise today, Matthias?
Just under 20 minutes.
Okay,
maybe,
cool.
Maybe 18, you know.
Oh yeah. Again, I want to give some like the power of belief, man. And to me, like the power of belief is almost a surreal thing. Also, for example, I believe it was the 2016 Arnold, sometime in that, and it's a gentleman I'd like to get on the show also. His name's, are you familiar with the powerlifter Tiny Meeker by chance, Matthias?
Meeker.
Tiny
I can't really place that name, but I think I've seen or heard it.
The first guy to bench press like 1,100 pounds, and blah, blah, whatever. But anyway, that's not important. The story is, again, I've been talking about the power of beliefs. So this was 2016, you know, before the advent of these new, what are these new shirts called? Rubber band bench shirts or something?
I don't know what they're called. I'm not really into the gear to lifting scene.
Yeah, whatever. So this is before the advent of this new style of bench shirt. And at the time, I believe the world record was still like 1,075, the total record. So we're talking, either way, just here, bear with me. The moral of the story is the power of belief.
Mm.
So Tiny Meeker's opening lift at this Arnold Classic, like bench blast, whatever it was called, was 1,050 pounds, 25 pounds shy of the all-time world record at the time. Okay.
Mm.
And they misloaded the bar. What do you think loaded to? I'll tell you, 1,250 pounds. There's an extra 100-pound plate on each side. So we're not talking like a 10-kilo misload or 5-kilo misload. We're talking almost, a 100-kilo misload, 200 pounds of bulk. So at the time, the world record is 1,075. The bar is loaded at 1,250 pounds. Okay. Again, this goes into the power of belief. So
That's
Tiny doesn't know this. What's that?
That's 90 kilos heavier than it's
There you go. Yeah. So 90 kilos over, which is, again, way above the world record, way above something anyone even really attempted. I don't even heard of anyone attempting anything remotely close to that in a meet. At the time, maybe the biggest attempt ever was like 1,100 pounds or something. And his opening became 1,250 pounds. So again, in his mind, it's 1,050. It's really 90 kilos or 200 pounds heavier than that. So that's crazy. What is your max? So imagine, even you do by percentage, attempting that much more weight over your max. Now actually think of doing 200 pounds more than your max. So long story short, they gave him the lift off, and instead it did not cripple him. It did not crush him. He gave a good attempt with it. I remember him talking about it in his mind. He was like, my gosh, this feels heavy. I wonder what's wrong. Why it feels so heavy today. So, but in his mind, he was still believing it was 1,050 pounds. So he did not get the lift, but shockingly, he did not get hurt. He carried the bar down in the same path he normally would with 1,050. And the son of a gun, he pushed it off his chest and gave it a good effort, man. So just, to me, that's just another testament of how powerful beliefs are. Let me give you another quick story on power of beliefs. And I really regret saying to this young man, because if I had known the impact of what this statement would have made on this young man, I would not have said it. But when I was in high school, there was a guy, he's just a little bit different, man. He was like, not the same, I don't know what term to use. Maybe to say special education or something. That's not important. And he saw someone bench press like 250 pounds. So he walked over and bench pressed 250 pounds. I made this statement to him. I was like, there's no way you should be doing that. But not like to be mean to him. Everybody's mind was blown that he could actually do that. And then he was never able to do it again because, I really regret saying it to this kid. And I could replay my life. I would have said, that's amazing. You should be doing 350 pounds or something like that. Really like encouraging to build on that. But anyway, again, power of beliefs. I'm telling you, this kid benched 250 pounds pretty much effortlessly. But once his belief changed that it wasn't something he was supposed to do, he just literally could not do it again. So what are your thoughts on that, Matthias?
That's a very big lack of autonomy on his part.
Hey, this kid, man, he was doing pretty good for the shape he's in. If you know the gentleman, young man I'm talking about, he was doing pretty good just having the courage to be in the weight room.
How old was he?
Oh, probably 15 or something like that at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's more understandable when it's a young guy like 15 years old. But when I say it's a lack of autonomy on his part, what I mean is your words had so much power over him that even when he became an adult, he didn't get any stronger than when he was 15, at least not on the bench press. I mean, he also has the responsibility to tell himself, well, I shouldn't be able to do that. I did it. That must mean I'm fucking awesome for my age or whatever,
Like I said, he was doing pretty good just being in the weight room in the first place, man. So when I say that, just trust me. Not everybody is like that. Not everybody has the same sort of like tools in their toolbox. So
yeah, and I mean
I'm pretty proud.
That's very unfortunate when you are at a place where such words, what people say get under your skin, and they affect you in a very bad way for a very long time. I still think though that he has a long way to live before it's too late for him to surpass it, And
yeah, I'm actually I still, oddly enough, I've like at different times in my life been able to have some conversations with him, and it's been a little bit now, but within the last couple of years, I've hung out with the guy and talked to him. He was a big football fan and pretty intelligent, more like savant. if you're familiar with that. So like certain areas of like knowledge, it's like incredible. And then like certain areas people might take for granted. It's not really part of his acumen. But I don't really think he cares about bench pressing too much weight at this point in his life. He's just doing his own thing and having fun. I'm just giving the stories, but you made it like there's like I don't know if it's Proverbs or something out of the Bible that says the words have the power of life and death in them. And you made something similar, like giving words that much power. But sometimes, what we all have control over are our own words. So like you said, not forgetting how you put it, like we're responsible for the words that come out of our mouth, whether they're directed towards someone else or even about ourselves or whatever the case may be. I think you just basically articulated that principle that the power of words do carry life and death in them.
Yeah, definitely. And just to be sure that people know, I mean, I'm not trying to knock the guy down. Actually, I'm trying to lift people up to learn from his mistakes, and also from yours, because like a 15-year-old guy who shouldn't have been there. Yeah, in retrospect, you should have probably been more encouraging, whatever. At the same time, like anyone in any place, like they need to be aware and remind themselves that there's a certain way you take autonomy over your own life. You have to tell yourself positive things. You have to like understand that if you do something well, and someone says you should not be doing it, well, maybe they are wrong, and maybe you were right to do it, and maybe you should fucking do it again 1,000 times.
Absolutely. Yeah, it goes back to that story. Yeah. But remember, this in the most recent episode, we talked about the young man LeVar Fisher. He got picked on in school, bullied in school. LeVar, you're a piece of garbage. You're a joke. You're never make the NFL. So he came home very depressed about it. And his father said, the lesson we just talked about, LeVar's father says, well, you can believe them or you can believe me. Who do you trust more, LeVar? And like, the power of words. And we're going to get LeVar on as a guest real soon. I just sent him a message earlier today. So he's going to be a very good guest. Got a freaking great story, great personality. Love that guy to hear him back, man. Anyway, any other subject matter you can think about diving into, LeVar? Or let's call you LeVar. Matthias?
Yeah, fathers, because that's what I was also going to say about the kid. I mean, maybe he didn't have a father to do what LeVar's father did for him, and that's another part of the big picture I think about a person who gets like torn down from something that one person says one time, maybe a lot of fathers out there aren't really like programming their children to become strong males, or to become like healthy daughters who get to enjoy the company of a strong male,
Absolutely. So I'm going to say, let me take it from there. Hey, let me shout out to all fathers out there. Whether you've made great decisions, bad decisions, anything in between, you got the rest of today to be the best father you can be, man. It's so important. And then I will say this too, I thank God for some of the, because, my biological father out of the picture from, very young age on. But I look back on my life and I'm so, so thankful for some of the father figures that stepped in and were like there to give support, give positive words of encouragement, give good examples. So I would say this, any adult male has the ability to be a father figure, or you are a father figure, so to speak. It's just, what type of father figure are you going to be? So I'm glad you brought that up, because I do think it's incredibly important, man. Shout out to the fathers out there. For any adult males, no matter what you've gone through in the past, remember from this point forward, man, you can be a powerful father figure. And I think that's a big message for the whole freaking, intercontinental collection that we have on this reality that we march on.
Yeah, a big part of being a father, though, is also to be like a role model, not just a father, not just someone who loves his children and all that stuff, but like a role model, someone who his kids look up to, like kind of a superhero. They turn on the TV, it's like, yeah, Batman is on TV, but I mean, my father is also in the room.
Yeah, you better believe it. I mean, we are all role, whether we like it or not, whether you claim it or reject it. The bottom line is we are all role models, period. I mean, what role are you going to model? So I agree with you 100%. So
I guess so. I mean, when I say role model, I guess I have like a bit of a different interpretation, but I do think you are correct in that way. My interpretation of a role model is someone who like is above average in a way, someone who is strong, who has dignity, self-respect, someone who you want to learn from, someone who inspires you, And
there's the Batman and the Joker.
yeah, and I mean the Joker inspires a lot of people, and the Batman inspires a lot of people. The Joker.
Well, I'm not trying to draw that analogy. I'm talking whether there's heroes and there's villains is the point I'm trying to make. I hope you're not too motivated by a villain.
Yeah, I think it's like a very bad sign how many people dress up like the Joker, and I'm inspired by him when what he does is like he uses like a coin to flip whether to hurt a lot of people or whether not to. And even after the new movie came out, people are still imitating him or dressing up like him, even though they saw that he's like a victim of society. And he's like really, really pathetic. He wants people to feel bad for him. And if they don't, he fucking kills them, like something like that. Remember, I live in Denmark. I speak a different language, so I'm trying to translate my thoughts the best way possible.
Right.
And women are dressing up like Joker's girlfriend, even though she's a crazy bitch. It's like, what has the world come to? Because I know for a lot of these people, it's not just like one fun holiday trying to like be bad in a way and have fun with it. They actually resonate a lot with these people, I think. And that's
yeah. Hey, it's a wild and wacky world out there, man. I promise you. I get it. Like, but I'm agreeing with what you said, man. Yeah. We are all role models. What role are you going to model, man? Are you going to be that superhero? You're going to be You're going to be the Commissioner Gordon? You're going to be the Joker? You're going to be the Penguin? What are you going to be, man? Like, I'm just drawing a crazy, like, quick analogy on it. But the power of words carry life and death. And we are all responsible for our own actions. And man, shit ain't always easy. I promise you that. But we all have the rest of the day to be the best we can be, and that's what it's all about. I'm sure we're about at that 30-minute mark. We're going to do a 30-minute show today.
I thought it was going to be an hour. Well, I think we are like 31 minutes right now, actually.
How much time?
We are at 31 minutes, 32 minutes.
Gotcha. Well, let's make it a wrap for the day. We'll do a half-hour episode today, and then I'll talk to you in a moment about another concept. Let me leave you the pearl of like a cool little story from Ernie Franz. You overheard some people talking, and you heard in the other room, the person says, what do you want to do? Do you want to bench 500 pounds today or 600 pounds tomorrow? And we hear Ernie Franz shout from the other room, 600 pounds today. So anyway, honestly, with that, hey, much love. We got a bunch more episodes coming up. We got guests kicking off very soon. Rap Fiend Radio, tune in. Old classics, new music, independent artists, all kinds of cool stuff. Much love. Matthias, Sexy Viking, you got anything to say to the audience before we break?
Yeah, if you want to be the best possible role model for your son, then you got to be someone he would want to be as well. Otherwise, he's not going to do too much.
There you go. All right. Peace.
Peace.